Alright, so let's see the 15th day challenge from lead code. The problem is product of array except self. So first let's try to understand what the problem is. Then I'm going to write the code. Then I'll explain how the code is working, and then we'll talk about the space and runtime complexity. Alright, so let's see the question. Given an array nums of n integers where n is greater than 1, return an array output such that output I is equal to the product of all the elements of nums except num I. So let's look at the example here. Here we have an example 1, 2, 3, 4, and the output is this one. So when we have the first index output, we are multiplying 2 times 3 times 4 except number 1. And the same way when we are calculating the second index value, we are multiplying 3 times 4 times 1 except 2. So that's what they are saying here, except the num of I, right? And let's look at the constraints. The first one is that it is guaranteed that the product of the elements of any prefix or suffix of the array, including the whole array, fits in a 32-bit integer. Okay, and please solve it without division and in big O of n time complexity. Okay, and could you solve it with constant space complexity, and the output array does not count as extra space for the purpose of the space complexity. Okay, so if we are not having the constraint of big O of n runtime complexity, we could have a nested loop. We have a loop go through each index, and then when I go to the specific index, I want to get the production of the prefix array and then suffix array value, and then I'll do the multiplication again to get the final value. But that will lead me to have n square time complexity. But here we need to write the code in big O of n. So, and also we are not going to have any other data structures except the output array. So we know that we are going to iterate the elements one by one. So one thing we could do the multiplication from left to right, and then from right to left, and then from left to right. So we are going to have two for loops, but they are not nested. Okay, so let's see. First of all, I'm going to have integer results. That's going to be my output array. New integer nums of length. Okay, so that's my output array. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come backwards first, which is from right to left. Okay, let me write this. Product of right to left. Okay, so what I'm going to do is here in the result, I'm going to do the production from right to left, but I cannot multiply the very last index by itself. So I'm going to just put the very last index, which is result of nums dot length, nums dot length, or I can say results dot length too, both the same length, right? Results dot length minus 1 is equal to 1. So I am just assigning 1 in the result array just for now. When I am going through the code, you will get what I am doing, why I am doing that. And then what I am going to do is for int j is equal to, I'm going to go through from back to front. right? So it's going to be result length minus 2 and j is greater than j is greater than or equal to 0 and then j minus, right? And then what I'm going to do is here results of the specific index is equal to I'm going to go to the result of j plus 1 times nums of j plus 1. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Okay, before I go further, let me bring up a notepad. Oh, I actually forgot it. I can't even write it here. Okay, so let me just put here. Okay, so let's get the same example, this one real quick. Okay, right. So I have this array, and then my output is going to be initially what I am going to have 4 elements, right? So I don't know what's the first element is going to be, second element, third element, and then fourth element I assign 1. That's what I did here. And when I go through this loop, initially for, so since here the index length is 1 2 3 4 and length minus 2, so for the second index, the way I am calculating the second index is the third index of this one and the third index of the num1, that's going to be here in the the fourth index of this one and then fourth index of the nums array. Let me put here nums, and then I put here the result, right? So initially the very first thing what I did, I assigned the result, the last index value is 1 because I cannot do the multiplication itself, so I just put 1. Okay, and then when I go to the second element from the end, so for this index since I am going to get this index value and times this index value, which is 4, I'll be getting 4. And then when I go to this index, which is first index, I'll be getting the second index value times this value, so that's going to be 12. And when I go to the 0th index, again I'll be getting this value times this value, which is 24. So pretty much what I am doing is this value, give some space here, I'll try to make it the same alignment. Okay, so if you look at this value has the multiplication from this and this, right? And to get the next index, since I cannot multiply by this specific index, so to get this 0th index value, I am getting the multiplication from this prior element, which is here, times the nums of j plus 1. So when I am getting out from this loop, I'll be having the results array like this. Okay, so now what we did so far, we have calculated the production value from the end to front. Now I'm going to do the same thing in the other direction. Okay, product of left to right. Okay, so now I go to the production from left to right of this array. So after when I am coming out from this loop, I have this results array, right? And then let me write this code here, and then I'll tell you what I'm going to have this int num variable to keep track of the multiplication values, and then I'll be going for int k is equal to 0, k less than, and results dot length minus 1, now let's give you length, and k plus plus, right? So let me just move this up. Oh, okay, here, right? So what's going to happen is now to in the results of k index is going to be equal to, which is the 0 index, num times nums of k. Let me make this variable name something else, because the num and nums just sound similar. It might be confusing, the name sounds. So I just want to change this as a temp. Okay, just for the sake of clarity. Okay, now, okay, and then so what I am doing is I am multiplying the very first index value of from the num with the temp, and then assign that. Actually, I need to, I'm sorry, this needs to be result. So I'm just this temp is the one going to keep track of the multiplication value. I'm just updating the results k with the multiplication of temp, and then I'm just doing here temp is equal to temp time nums of k. So what I'm doing here is, let's understand what's happening in this loop. Okay, I'm going to go to this and copy this here. Okay, so I'll just okay, so this is we started with, right? And then one more thing we did here. Okay, we have this temp 1. Okay, that's where we started from this code. Okay, and then when I go to the 0th index, okay, 0th index, results of k, and I'm going to update the results of k value from by doing the multiplication from left to right, right? But we know that we cannot multiply this element by itself, which is in our example the array is seem to be 1, but if it's something else we cannot multiply by that. So therefore I just put the temp initially 1. Okay, so to avoid the self multiplication of the 0th index, I have this temp assigned as 1, right? And then when I come here in the very first time, the results of k is equal to temp 1 time results of k 24, and then this is happening when, let me just do this, k is equal to, when k is equal to 0 just happened, right? And then I am updating this temp is equal to what? This temp is equal to, because I'm going to go to the next index. When I go to next index, I need to get this value times k, excuse me, times temp. So here nums of 0 is equal to 1 times 1, therefore 1. So in the second time when I am coming here, when I go to k is equal to 1, the num won't be changed, and initially temp is 1, right? Temp is 1, and then when I am going here, k is equal to 1. When I am going here, what's happening is k is equal to 1, initially temp, here the temp is going to be 1, 2, and then I'll be getting the result of k, which is first index result is 12 times 12 times temp is 12. I'll be getting 12 here, and then when I go to this temp is 1, and then nums of 1, which is equal to what? Here now that is 2, so 1 times 2 is 2. I am updating this number 10 to 2. Okay, now when I go to k is equal to 2. Okay, now when I go to k is equal to 2, initially the temp is 2 now, right? And then when I go to the 0, 1 second index, what's going to happen? Temp is 2, and then the result of k is what? 4. 4 times 2 is 8. I'll be updating this one, and then when I go to here, and then when I go to here, now the temp is what? Let me update these values real quick. So k is 1, nums of 1, and then here nums of 2, and then here the temp is, now the temp started with 2, and then so nums of 2 is what? 0, 1, 2 is 3, so this is 2, and then this is 3, so total 3 is 6. So now the temp is going to be 6, right? So just quickly recap what we are doing. We are just updating the temp, and we are finishing that specific index to do the multiplication for the next index, right? So now when I go to k is equal to 3, right? Let me make sure, yeah, when I go to k is equal to 3 now, when I go to k is equal to 3, initially the temp we had is 6, okay, because we updated temp 6, right? And then we are going to go to this line of code. Now temp is 6, and then results of k, results of third index is what? 0, 1, 2, 3. Third index is what? 1. 1 times 6 is what? 6. And then the temp is what? Temp we start with 6, and the nums of 3 is what? 4. So 6 times 4 is what? 24. Okay, 24. And this is the, so when we go to the third index, and then when it comes to fourth index, it won't come, it will get out from the loop, and then we are getting the final results 24, 12, 8, 6. That's the output value we'll be getting. So let's return result. So that should be our output value, right? So I just made this comment in the middle to give you an idea what's happening in the code, right? So this is the second for loop, and then maybe just clear this extra space, okay, and then I'll just put this in the end. Okay, this is the second for loop. Second for loop code is this is what happening in the second for loop. And then if I go to the, let me get this one to real quick. In the first for loop we will be getting this output after we are getting out for the first for loop, right? And then this is going to be first for loop output value is going to be the following one. Okay, so this is the output we're getting from the first for loop, this is the output we're getting from the second for loop, and then yeah, so I just thought giving This is a little bit different than I usually do. I just thought of explaining you the code while I am writing it. And let's run the code and see it passes all the test cases. Okay, result, what's the line? Line 14. What's happening in the line 14? Line 14, RELENGTH. Result, length. Alright, that's silly. Run. Okay, so that code is working just fine. And I already submitted. Let's see whether I can submit it again too or not. Yeah, so all the test cases are passed, right? So let's see quickly the time complexity and the space complexity, right? Time complexity, and we have two for loops and they are not nested, and we have two separate for loops and each for loop is going to take big O of n. That's the equation, that's what we needed. And the space complexity is big O of 1 because we haven't used any other than the output array. Okay, we have this output array big O of n, and if you look at the question, the output array does not count as extra space for the purpose of space complexity analysis. Therefore, I am going to ignore that output array here, and other than that, what we used was this temporary variable, and that's pretty much it we use. So therefore, time space complexity is big O of 1 since we exclude the output array, and the time complexity is big O of n. And that's what we solve this question. And please let me know if you find any corrections or any improvements, because this I am doing it for my self purpose to learn better. Thank you.